Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. I have been enjoying these gorgeous coral geraniums all season long. They are absolutely at their peak of bloom right now, and I love this color. Unfortunately, we live where these guys will not make it through the winter, and so they either need to be pitched into the compost bin, which is something I used to do, or overwintered. Now, 3 years ago, I decided to research how you overwinter geraniums, and I thought it was certainly worth a try. I had nothing to lose. Well, it turns out it's very simple. So at the time, I had filmed a video explaining how to overwinter geraniums. Now, would you believe it has been viewed 127,000 times? I mean, that is just amazing. But it tells me that this is a topic people want to know more about. And I can't blame them, because if you just put these in your compost bin at the end of the season, you're wasting a lot of money. So today I think it's time for a new video, since it's been 3 years, and I'm going to show you how to overwinter your geraniums. You can see why I want to save this plant. I mean, look how robust and healthy it is. And it's got a nice root system on it. So the first step is to knock the soil off of the roots. And you'll notice I've got a little tub here because it's a messy job. Okay. After you've done that, the other thing you want to do is to cut off these blossoms. That kind of seems like a crime, doesn't it? And even little flower buds. But you leave the leaves on the plants. There's that one. I don't see any other buds on there. So I'm going to set this one aside and do the others. So now I have all of the flowers and flower buds trimmed off. And another thing that I did is I pulled off any dead leaves that were down in here, just to clean them up. So I have knocked off as much soil as I can from the root system. And because they're pretty damp, I think it's a good idea to let them dry out overnight. So I'm going to put them indoors just until tomorrow morning, and then I'll finish up this video. But because it could frost tonight, I definitely don't want to leave them out here. Now, there's two things I wanted to mention. One is, in case you are wondering which geranium this is, because it has been so gorgeous. This is one called Americana Coral, and these are zonal geraniums. That way you know that. The other thing is, if you have geraniums in some pots, you could certainly bring them indoors into kind of a coolish area for the winter instead of going through the process that I am. And you would trim them back a ways and just kind of give them a little water every now and then, not too much, and just get them through the winter that way. But I have found this to be very simple, and because they're going to be down in my basement, they're out of the way, and then I just check on them once a month. So let's get these drier, and then we'll finish this up tomorrow. All right, it's the next day, and I'm much happier with how dry the roots are now, so they're safe to put in a box. And what I do is I alternate which end the roots are on for every other plant. It might not be necessary, but I just feel like it's a good idea to kind of space out where the root systems are. Look at the size of that one. So each of these go into the box. Hopefully I have enough room here. This seemed like such a big box until I started doing this. Okay, 2 more plants. That one's a little tall, but it still fits. Okay, and the last one. All right, so once you have everything into the box, what you're going to do is to just kind of interlock these flaps so that there is some air circulation still. So you don't want to tape it shut or do anything like that. Plus I have this handle area, so I think that's going to work well. One other thing I might mention is I'm going to put the plant tag in the box with these plants just so I remember which ones they are. And I'm probably going to put a label on the outside of the box too, because I'm overwintering 2 different types of geraniums. Now, this is going to go in a cool, dark area, and for me, that's down in our basement. I realize not everybody has a basement, but you definitely want them to stay cool and dark. What I really want you to do is to mark your calendar for 1-month increments from when you started the overwintering process. So I'm going to go to my calendar after this, and I'm going to mark in 1 month to check these, and then another month to check these, and so on. So what's going to happen, and I really don't understand why this works so well, is these plants are going to completely dry out. The leaves are going to be all shrivelly and brittle, and it's totally okay, so don't freak out. But one thing I do want to mention is that if you happen to look at the stems on one of the months that you're checking your plants, and they look really shriveled, it's okay to take a water bottle and very lightly spritz them. And I mean very lightly. You don't want much moisture. But if they really look shriveled up, I would give them just a little spritz of water. Now, when early February rolls around, what you're going to do is pot them up. And one of the things you'll probably notice when you check them in January is that there are, amazingly enough, some tiny little leaves coming out of the stems. And those are going to be next year's leaves. I just think that's incredible. So you're going to just leave them alone other than potting them up. And I would let them grow a little bit, get some new growth. And then I would give them maybe like a little bit of fish fertilizer, something that is high in nitrogen. And that's just to promote that leafy development. But once they have some nice new leaves, then I would prune them back a bit to make them more compact. Because you can see these plants have become leggy over the season. And so I'm going to start out when I repot them with leggy plants, but then maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, I'll prune them back down so they're a nice compact plant. Now, one thing that I wanted to clarify is that when you're checking your geraniums every month for the next few months, what you're checking them for is that there's no rotting or mold going on in there. If it's just a little, I would trim it off. If it's quite a lot on a plant, I would pitch the plant. Now, in the 3 years that I've been doing this, I have never lost a plant, and I've never had that happen, but I did want to clarify what you're looking for. No mold, no rotting. Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention. In addition to the zonal geraniums, which I just showed you how to overwinter, I'm also growing ivy geraniums and another wonderful coral color, which is Temprano orange, in case you're curious. Now, I have to be honest with you, in the last 2 years, I have tried to overwinter them, and my success rate is not so good. For one thing, the first year, what I tried to do was just knocking the soil off like I did with the zonal geraniums, trimming off any flowers or buds, putting them into a box, and they didn't like that one bit. I don't think any of them survived, so that was not good. So last year what I did is I took some cuttings and threw the rest away. And that worked so-so. They did form roots on them, but they just kind of languished. And so I was thinking for my third try, what I'm going to do is to trim them back, but leave them in the pot, move them indoors, make sure that they get plenty of light, and see if they like that better. So that's what I'm going to do this time, is I'm just really going to prune them back, and we'll see what happens. I obviously need to leave enough greenery on so that they are going to stay alive, but I just want to really cut them back. So that's the game plan for this winter, and I'm really hoping that it will work. Now I could also take some cuttings. I haven't decided if I'm doing that or not, but I suppose it couldn't hurt. But I'm just trying to come up with the best way to overwinter an ivy geranium. Okay, I have pruned back severely both pots of my ivy geraniums, and I'm hoping the third try is the charm. Now I also hope that this updated video on overwintering your geraniums has been helpful. And I do hope that you're going to try it out if you haven't done it before, because it's a great way to save money and to hang on to the plants that you enjoyed so much this year. Happy gardening!